All right, folks, we are back here at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. You'll see Will Moorad approach the platform for his opening clean attempt in this clean, not speed ladder, but certainly increasing weight ladder. And we had a fantastically exciting clean ladder on the women's side with two-time defending champion Tia Claire Toomey taking the crown. All right, looks like Will Moorad will not be taking this opening attempt at 315 pounds. And that's unfortunate to see, but he'll be moving off and will be facing the tiebreaker in just a second. As he talks to Reebok CrossFit Games director Dave Castro. Matt McLeod coming up for his opening attempt at 315 pounds.
Please welcome our next lifter, Newberry.
All right. James Newberry coming up to take his opening attempt at 315 pounds. Newberry is a CrossFit Games veteran based out of Australia. Let's see him take his opening attempt. Certainly we know something he's capable of and has lifted in the past. Good opening attempt at 315. The women opened this clean ladder at 215 pounds. We've increased the weight on the barbell by 100 pounds for the men. Next up is American competitor Jacob Heppner. No stranger to heavyweight. Should be able to clean this pretty easily. I have to say, we've seen a higher percentage of the men so far struggle on this opening barbell or decline to attempt it. That'll be a good lift for Heppner. We actually had 3 women out of the 10 remaining competitors on that side fail at the opening attempt, or at their opening attempts at 215. So nice to see some lifters get on the board here.
Please welcome Scott Panchik.
All right, Scott Panchik, the CrossFit Games veteran out of Menor, Ohio, taking his opening attempt, 315. Panchik, an athlete we've seen clean well into the 300s. No issue there, making light work and showing off some superlative leg strength. So far, most of the men having no trouble with 315. Bjorgvin Karl Gudmundsson of Iceland, attempting 315 pounds. Good opening lift for Bjorgvin Karl Gudmundsson, and I'm joined back on the color commentary by Dr. Eugene Bo Babenko.
Hey, David.
What do you think of these athletes and their opening attempts so far? We have seen a couple fail, but one athlete I don't expect to see having any trouble here is 3-time defending champion Matt Fraser.
That's right. So far, we're seeing some strong attempts, and it's going to be a lot of points on the board. So every single rep's going to count. We saw it with the women. I'm expecting to see a nice showdown, especially with Matt stepping up here. All right, so Matt making it look easy. I did want to remind folks in the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Games down in Carson, California, under the sun, there was a clean and jerk ladder, so a little bit more challenge with the jerk involved. As we see Noah Ohlsen with the leader jersey coming up. He's going to fight for his points here. He's going to fight for his lead. But back in 2015, Noah Ohlsen was there. He maxed out the clean and jerk at 305, so this is above that number that he hit in 2015. A little bit of a struggle, I would say, there on that clean. A little bit forward, not the best technique. Noah, not always known for the efficiency, but he will move on to the next barbell. Will Moorad, the only athlete to miss the 315 barbell, so he will not have to complete a tie break. If you were watching the ladies, if there are 2 athletes or more who miss at 1 barbell, as the weights will keep going up by 5 pounds, if anyone misses, there will be a tie break at the bar there, as we saw Will Moorad walking off. Very efficient by Saxton Panchik there.
Folks, for those of you who are just tuning in, Moorad actually declined to take that 315-pound attempt. All right,
Saxon
that'll be a good
Panchik.
lift for Saxon Panchik, brother of fellow competitor in the top 10, Saxton Panchik. We have 2 brothers, both out of Menor, Ohio, going head-to-head in this clean portion.
Please welcome Adrian Mundwiler.
And Mundwiler will be taking 325 pounds for his next attempt. Mundwiler approaching the barbell, wearing Olympic lifting shoes, knee wraps, and a belt. Fantastic looking form from Mundwiler as he shows a lot of patience waiting to get that barbell into his hip there, Bo.
That's right. Looks very clean. Mundwiler spent some time in Dubai when I was there. Failed to qualify for the games that year, but you see he's come back stronger than ever. Top 10, sitting at number 10, coming into event 7, and we'll see how Matt McLeod here will step up to this 325-pound barbell.
All right, Matt McLeod, 325 pounds on the barbell, competitor out of Australia. We saw him win the sprint couplet earlier in the competition and is able to come away with a successful lift there at 325. Certainly one that he had to fight for, going way down in the hole, as they say in weightlifting terminology, having to catch that barbell in a very deep squat in order to come away with a good lift. Another Australian athlete, CrossFit Games veteran James Newberry, an athlete that we've actually been very fortunate to work with a number of times with at BarBend.com. Actually, if you go to the BarBend homepage, you can see some cool interviews and content with Newberry, an athlete who a lot of people had their eyes on heading into this competition. He's proven that, making it all the way to the top 10 thus far. And Bo, it almost looks like he shorted his pull there a little bit.
It did look that way, David. I agree with you. He's probably dealing with a lot of fatigue. This is probably on the higher side of his 1-rep max range. He was not around in 2015 when they had that clean and jerk ladder. Jacob Heppner, though, as we're seeing step up, he hit 308 4 years ago there. Curious to see how he does with 325. How much progression has there been? And these are different circumstances for sure, but 308 max clean and jerk in 2015, a bit heavier here at 325.
And he certainly struggled a little bit more with that one than he did at 315. He was one of the competitors who made 315 look relatively light, having to take a second at the bottom, catch that bar deep in the front squat position before standing up with it, but he will be credited with a good lift. Another American competitor, the one of 2 Panchik brothers in this top 10, Saxton Panchik. We've seen him in competition clean into the mid 300s, so normally I wouldn't think this 325 would give him much trouble at all, although these lifters are certainly competing on tired legs today in Madison. Well, it doesn't really look like it for Saxton Panchik. What did you see there, Bo?
Again, I keep going back to 2015. It's phenomenal for us to have these data to go back to. He hit 330 on that clean and jerk ladder 4 years ago, but that lift right there looked very smooth. I anticipate Saxton Panchik continues to take these 10-pound jumps nice and smooth, and he's going to be in one of our top, I would say, 3 or 4 athletes to finish this event.
All right, Bjorgvin, Karl Gudmundsson of Iceland. Early in his CrossFit career, known more for his endurance and gymnastics skill, not necessarily his weightlifting, has made up a lot of ground in that regard, showing it right there with a very smooth-looking 325-pound clean. Someone who's clearly put on a lot of muscle mass, a lot of strength, specifically a lot of leg strength over the course of his CrossFit Games career. And there you have Matt Fraser, 3-time defending champion, someone who got his start in athletics as a youth and junior weightlifter, competing many times on the national and even international stage. Growing up in Vermont, training in weightlifting under renowned coach Chris Polakowski, was in the USA weightlifting system. Now the 3-time defending CrossFit Games champ. And you can make it look a lot worse than Fraser did there. What do you like about his lifting, Bo?
Just super smooth, super efficient. You see the determination on his face. We heard after event number 7, he was interviewed as the winner there, claiming his 100 points, chipping away at the then 65-point lead, now down to 55-point lead below Noah Ohlsen. Matt Fraser, a determined athlete, not someone to be trifled with again as just one of the most dominant men in this sport has ever seen.
Noah Ohlsen, 325 pounds on the barbell. All right, he's able to make it out of that squat clean. Ohlsen, when he burst onto the CrossFit scene about 5 years ago, was not known for his limit strength, was not known for being a particularly good Olympic weightlifter compared to other top CrossFitters. He's clearly made up a lot of ground. He's clearly worked on his leg strength. And he's able to hit weights that even 5 years ago I'm sure he would have struggled with on a normal day in the gym, not to mention Reebok CrossFit Games competition. All right, there you have it. 9 men have cleared the 325-pound barbell. My guess is we're going to see some of these men starting to fall off and really struggle with a 335-pound barbell. I'm looking at Matt McLeod. He had a bit of trouble with 325. I expect 335 to give him a little bit more trouble. And I don't think we're going to see more than 7 men advance beyond this barbell, but we'll see how it goes. Saxon Panchik, 335. And this should come as no surprise. Saxon Panchik, the younger Panchik brother here, lifting a lot like his brother Scott.
Adrian Mundwiler.
Mundwiler coming up for 335. And you see him wearing those Olympic lifting shoes. Bo, why might an athlete choose to wear lifting shoes when cleaning heavy?
You're going to get a little bit more of a heel lift and stiffer shoes bottom with the Olympic weightlifting shoe. Almost every single athlete on the Olympic stage will, in fact, have Olympic weightlifting shoes. You're going to see a few athletes, we saw with the ladies' side, choosing to go with maybe their more comfortable nanos or Metcons, whatever their preference there. But you're going to see that for some reason, that's just what they're comfortable with. Again, Rich Froning, one of the most illustrious athletes in the sport of CrossFit. He's always been famous for lifting in non-Olympic weightlifting shoes.
All right, Matt McLeod of Australia struggled a little bit with 325. Let's see if he fares better here. And yeah, that's what I thought might happen. He's just not able to pull that barbell high enough to catch it in a stable squat position. He does have 20 seconds to attempt it again. I'm not sure he's going to be able to come away with a successful lift here, although he is going to try. And same thing, just not able to get enough height on that barbell. Catches it with a collapsed thoracic and just not in a good position to squat that weight up. Would you agree with that assessment, Bo?
Absolutely, David. You saw that he just was out of position, even at the slightly lighter bar, 10 pounds lighter, had a little bit of a struggle. So you called it perfectly. I would have put, if you had somewhere, you could have put money on that. Vegas is taking odds. I don't know, but that was a great call on your part.
All right, James Newberry, 335. And he's able to make that look a bit like his 325. I still think he might be shorting his pull a little bit, not quite reaching full extension in order to pull that barbell up, but he makes up for it with a very, very fast descent under the barbell. Is able to come away with a good lift as we see American Jacob Heppner coming out, approaching this barbell, a determined look on his face. Heppner was absent from the Reebok CrossFit Games last year, did not qualify out of the Open, but is back with a vengeance, making his top 10 presence felt. All right, Hefner will advance to the next barbell and will come out in just a bit to attempt 345. We have at least one male in this heat who will not have a chance to lift that 345-pound barbell. That is Matt McLeod. Let's see if anyone else has too much trouble with this 335-pound barbell. Scott Panchik. We saw his brother Saxon, his younger brother Saxon, make easy work, light work of this 335-pound barbell. Let's see if he can do the same. And as a little bit of added motivation, Scott Panchik is following his younger brother. You can't let your little bro outlift you, right, Bo?
That's right. If you have to have that pride here, we're going to see some of that pride coming on the line. I want to keep going back to that 2015 numbers. Jacob Heppner only hit 308 back then. Scott Panchik did hit 330, and Mr. Gudmundsson from Iceland here did only hit 307 on that clean and jerk. So we'll see how that translates to 4 years later.
And of course, just the clean and jerk being a different stimulus, but still fun to compare those numbers from just 4 years ago. Bjorgvin Karl Gudmundsson, someone who has been determined to improve his Olympic weightlifting prowess and numbers. Slowing down maybe just a little bit with his heavier barbell, but still coming away with a good lift, so he'll have a chance at 345. And there we go. Matt Fraser, three-time defending champ, who came in to this event in a very unfamiliar position, second place behind overall leader Noah Ohlsen. It's the first time in nearly 4 years we've seen Matt Fraser have to make up any ground in a Reebok CrossFit Games competition. He's determined to do so, and it all starts here. It's also worth noting, folks, we don't know how many events are left. We don't know how many points are really up for grabs tomorrow in the fourth and final day of Reebok CrossFit Games competition. So every lift matters here as we see our leader, Noah Ohlsen. Bo, do you think he's going to be successful with this 335-pound barbell?
He looked very strong on that 325. Again, not the most seasoned Olympic lifter, as you alluded to, but he's got pure strength that might carry him through.
All right, making it work, Noah Ohlsen, a competitor who has had to work on his leg strength over the years, something that held him back early in his CrossFit career, but not holding him back too much here just yet on the Coliseum floor in Madison, Wisconsin. And if you are just tuning in, a reminder, you are watching the final event of the day of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. This is the men's clean event, the heaviest weight we've seen on a barbell so far here in Madison, Wisconsin. For BarBend.com, an official streaming partner of the Reebok CrossFit Games. I'm David Tao. I'm joined on live color commentary by Dr. Eugene Bo Babenko. We just finished a few minutes ago an exciting women's clean ladder, and we are now on to the men. And it got tense when the top 10 women went head-to-head for heavy cleans. Tia Claire Toomey finishing the ladder at 265 for yet another event win. And Saxon Panchik well on his way to a good placement in this event with a successful lift at 345 pounds. He's a 23-year-old athlete from Menor, Ohio, making a CrossFit Games appearance, a top 10 appearance alongside his brother and CrossFit Games veteran Scott Panchik. Adrian Mundwiler, 345 pounds.
Mundwiler approaching 345.
Good looking lift, Bo. I think that looked better than his previous attempt.
I totally agree with you, David. Again, Mundwiler, an athlete that I believe strives under fatigue. Is very strong, but also very good under that endurance component. So as you see fatigue catching up to some of these athletes, we're going to see the difference between technique and that energy system. That's what makes events like this fascinating to watch.
I mean, they're lifting heavy, and they're lifting heavy back to back to back with not much rest in between. Certainly less rest than one might see in your typical Olympic weightlifting competition. All right, James Newberry struggling to stand up with that heavy weight. Fantastic lift from Newberry. Now, I say this is less rest than you might see in a typical Olympic weightlifting competition. It really depends on the size of the competition and if a lifter has to follow themselves. But the number of reps these athletes are required to compete here and are completing on this ladder certainly higher than what you might see on the weightlifting platform, where an athlete typically has only 3 attempts in the snatch and the clean and jerk. These athletes already well above 3 attempts as Hefner approaches this 345-pound barbell in order to stay in the competition. Oh, and that's got to be heartbreaking. Bo, he was so close.
You saw the knee start to come in on that left side there. I don't know if he's even going to try this within that 20-second window. Be very impressive if he can make it, but that knee positioning is what's going to determine if you can stand it up.
And
probably a smart decision there.
Yeah, Bo, I mean, I'd call that a smart decision. With this heavyweight, especially under fatigue, I mean, the injury risk, while it's not something we like to see, and it's something these athletes work to prevent, as he motions to the camera, it's certainly a real risk. So I agree with you. I think that was actually a good call by Heppner to go ahead and say, you know what, I've had enough. I'll move on to the tiebreakers if necessary.
And a lot more competition coming tomorrow.
Scott Panchik keeping up with Lil Bro Saxon Panchik there with a smooth-looking 345-pound clean. The Panchik brothers both very strong in all phases of competition. Obviously, they're both top 10 athletes here in Madison, but especially when it comes to something like a heavy clean. Bjorgvin, Karl, Gudmundsson, 345 pounds on the barbell. Even 4 years ago, earlier on in his CrossFit Games career, I would have seen this as unthinkable weight for Gudmundsson, but clearly something he's worked on and leg strength he's built over the years and throughout training. And he loves the crowd, Bo.
He does. You see the determination. You see the shout out to the fans, the Icelandic contingent. Iceland, of course, very strong, always represented in the sport of CrossFit.
There is the defending champ, the three-time defending champ himself, Matt Fraser, approaching a 345-pound barbell, something we've seen him do. It's very much in his wheelhouse, very capable of it. Of course, can he replicate that under fatigue conditions? Yes, he can. And personally, I'm sort of hoping that this shapes up to be Matt Fraser versus someone else, because he is pumped up. He is the defending champ, and this is an arena where he's very comfortable. Both the Coliseum under the bright lights and with a heavy barbell in front of him. It's something Matt Fraser's been doing since he was a little kid. Noah Ohlsen, 345 pounds. Bo, does he have this?
Last 335 looked really clean. Again, he's just got the determination here along with the skill set, so I think he's got it.
A little bit more of a struggle than the 335, but Bo Babenko, a betting man, if you will, was correct. Ohlsen wearing that white leader jersey, and as nice of a guy as Matt Fraser is, he's a fantastic ambassador for the sport. He's gracious to his competitors. I don't want to take anything away from that, but I know that he hates seeing anyone else wear that white leader jersey, which he has worn so consistently from almost the beginning of every competition since 2016. And that's got to be a fantastic motivator for Matt Fraser. And he's still got a significant points gap that he has to overcome between himself and Noah Ohlsen. Bo, can you talk a little bit more about that points gap?
Thanks, David. Yeah, 65 points separated them at the beginning of the day going into event 7. So Matt Fraser was able to only make up 10 points, cutting that lead to only 55, but still a pretty significant amount of points. Again, we have no idea how many events we'll see tomorrow, how many points are up for grabs, as we see Saxon Panchik, little brother of Scott Panchik, making easy work of that 355-pound barbell, the 5th barbell along this ladder.
Mundwiler we saw run into a little bit of trouble and just have the tiniest bit of struggle with 345. Let's see if he can catch this bar cleanly in the front rack position. And you can feel the energy in this packed Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center here in Madison, Wisconsin. Great looking lift from Mundwiler, better than his 345, I'd say. All right, Bo, what do you think of Newberry's attempt here? He struggled a little bit with 345.
Yeah, I think he's going to, based on the technique we saw from that side view, especially thoracic spine, not as tight as we would like to see. Obviously, a very heavy lift for James Newberry out of Australia. He'd have to really clean up his technique more than anything to make a clean lift here. Yeah, that last lift at 345, made this 355 a challenge. I'm sure this is very high, close to his 1 rep max of all time, along with all that fatigue set in, as this is the 8th event of 3 days of competition already.
And much like Jacob Heppner before him, just waves to the crowd, doesn't really make much of a second attempt there. He's still got a lot of competition left. Risking injury is a very real thing in the minds of all these athletes, especially under the extreme fatigue that the Reebok CrossFit Games demands. So he will step off and will have a chance at that tiebreaker barbell, as we see Saxton Panchik attempt 355. Much like his brother Saxon, successful there. We see the crowd getting excited for him, who has been a CrossFit Games staple. Saxton Panchik, a CrossFit Games staple since 2012. He burst onto the scene with a 4th place overall finish in his first year at the Games, followed that up his 2nd year at the Games with another 4th place finish, although trips to that podium, that top 3 placement, have eluded Scott over the years. He's trying to make this season different, as we see Bjorgvin Karl Gudmundsson of Iceland approach 355 pounds on the barbell. Sometimes pausing at the very bottom of that front squat can be an issue, but I think it was a conscious decision there by Gudmundsson. What do you think, Bo?
I totally agree. Sometimes you'll even see athletes working this into their programming, hanging out at the bottom of that position for a few seconds with those heavier weights in the event that things like this happen. Let's see Matt Fraser here again. His forte. Everyone's expecting him to win this event. Let's see if he can hit 355 cleanly here.
Well, that's about all you can ask for, and his lifts have looked so consistent from 315 now on to 355 as the barbell increases in 10-pound increments. Everything looks very workmanlike. He's been here before. Thousands and thousands of reps accrued over a long weightlifting and CrossFit career, as we see our current leader, Noah Ohlsen, approaching the barbell, 355 pounds, certainly toward the upper limit of what we've seen Noah Ohlsen attempt before. Wow, great speed under that barbell, really using that stretch reflex to stand up out of that front squat. Bo, I got to be honest, if you had asked me at the beginning of the competition day if I would see Noah Ohlsen clean 355 pounds, I would have told you no.
I think I agree with you, David. And again, it's not the prettiest, and I also thought that might have been a glitch in my feed there on the internet, but I think he just dropped under that bar so fast. I think he's very determined to hold on to that leader jersey. Every single rep here is going to count. I do want to point out to the fans, this next bar is 365 pounds, the 6th bar these athletes will be facing here in Event 8. After that, they'll actually increase by 5 pounds on the barbell, according to what they have listed on the website. Now, they have made changes before, as we saw on the women's side, so but that is the anticipated progression of the weights here in Event 8.
And we're just following the information that CrossFit is providing the official broadcasters. And sometimes changes are made on the field, and you find out when we find out, as we see Saxon Panchik attempt 365 pounds, which might be just too much for him today. Is he going to make another attempt here? I mean, that first attempt certainly took a lot out of him and challenged his leg strength. He's asking for the crowd to get behind him. He's going to give it a go. Is not able to come away with it. So Saxon Panchik, that will end his clean ladder here in the 8th event of the Reebok CrossFit Games, the final individual event of Day 3. Mundwiler still very much in this competition. 365 pounds. A tall ask for any athlete. Let's see if he can do it as he motions to the crowd to cheer. These athletes are playing to the crowd. I absolutely love it. And he is pumped up, as he should be. Bo, what did you think about that lift?
The Switzerland athlete here, Adrian Mundwiler, again, just got that determination. I think he needed the crowd. You see him, you see him a little bit walking like he's a bit tired. I'm curious to see what he does on this next barbell, 370. Now, Saxton Panchik stepping up. His brother missed the lift. Would be interesting to see them go at it in a tiebreaker, so I don't think Scott wants that. I think he's going to want to, really make this lift here.
Now, Scott is the older brother, the first Panchik brother to make an appearance at the CrossFit Games back in 2012 and has been a consistent staple since then. This is to prove he's the strongest Panchik brother. And he does. I'm sure we're going to hear about that at the Thanksgiving table a little later this year as Scott Panchik successfully cleans what younger brother Saxon could not, and he is still alive in this event. And just like that, we have begun to truly whittle down the men's field here in the clean ladders. We see Bjorgvin, Karl, Gudmundsson of Iceland. Now you can see a bit of abrasion on his neck from the heavy barbell. A little bit of friction burn there. I don't even know if he realizes that's occurred, because when you're in the heat of competition and in the thick of lifting heavy weights, it's often the last thing you think about or feel until you look in the mirror the next day. And a great looking lift from Bjorgvin, Karl Gudmundsson. He is pumped up, yelling at the crowd. You see a whole contingent of Icelandic flags being waved. It's almost like strength sports and CrossFit are popular over there, Bo.
Yeah, if you haven't seen all these documentaries put out about the strongmen that compete up there in Iceland, we got to experience a little bit of it back in, was it 2012? You and I got to visit Iceland together as friends.
2013, but we'll wait on that story as we see Matt Fraser attempt 365 pounds, a weight we've seen him hit before. And if you're looking at how to do it, if you're trying to figure out what great weightlifting technique looks like, look no further than Matt Fraser, who got his athletic start as a youth weightlifter living and training in Vermont. And this will bring us to Noah Ohlsen now. Ohlsen is certainly reaching the upper limit of what we've seen him capable of before in the Olympic lifts. I expect him to really have to dive under this barbell, utilize a lot of speed under the bar, and catch that stretch reflex in order to stand up cleanly with this 365-pound weight. And that will be too much weight for your current leader. Bo, I don't think he's going to really have another solid attempt at this. What do you think?
I would advise him against it. He might listen to the crowd here, but as the leader, this could actually cost him a little bit. Oh, he's smart enough to step away from the bargain. We've seen him fizzle a little bit. We don't know how many events are left. You've mentioned a few times. As the leader, this might cost him a few points, as we expect Matt Fraser to chip away at that lead, since he's still in the competition, and he might... Oh, we do have the tiebreak here. We forgot that, as this has been a long barbell.
Well, we saw tiebreak rounds in the women's portion of the competition. In the men's, we haven't really seen it yet. And these athletes will clean much lighter barbells, 5 times for speed. The first in this head-to-head match between Saxon Panchik and Noah Ohlsen across the finish line will be ranked above the other and will receive 10 more points. So they're really fighting over 10 points here, Bo.
Yeah, and again, as Noah Ohlsen, the leader, these 5 reps at 295 pounds, it's not nothing, as some people might say, and I don't know if those 10 points are worth it, but so hard to make that judgment. You have to talk with your coach. This is all happening in the moment. We have 4 athletes left, so those points are definitely going to add up. If Matt Fraser goes on to get the 100 points here, he's down by 55 points right now. Again, we don't know how many events will be coming up tomorrow, but that could be a quick shift of 40 or 50 points. So Noah Ohlsen probably needs to get on his game here.
All right, Ohlsen wearing that white leader jersey, trying to maintain some semblance of lead over 3-time defending champ Matt Fraser. Saxon Panchik, now a top 10 competitor, looking to accrue as many points as possible as we head into the 4th and final day of competition tomorrow. There's a lot that we don't know. We are not sure exactly how many points are available for these athletes on Day 4, the final day of competition, tomorrow. All they can do right now is accrue as many points as possible. And for Noah Ohlsen and Saxon Panchik, that means 5 very fast squat cleans, first across the finish line, will win those additional 10 points.
Stand by.
All right, and they're off. Who can clean this weight fastest? Noah Ohlsen employing a power clean technique. It's going to be a little bit faster than the squat clean. Struggling a little bit with that weight, though. Can Ohlsen maintain his power cleans? It's a bit like the tortoise and the hare there. One methodical, one. Oh my goodness. We
That's
have a
gonna come down to the
neck
chip.
finish. And it looks like Saxon Panchik finished just 0.03 of a second behind Noah Ohlsen. Both of them diving for the finish line. Ohlsen employing a power clean technique in order to shave seconds off of his reps. Panchik squat cleaning every rep from the beginning, but methodical, workmanlike, consistent, and is able to nearly edge out Ohlsen, who employed that slightly faster power clean technique. That was one of the closest finishes we've seen in any strength-based event at the Reebok CrossFit Games in the history of this event. And while Panchik is squat cleaning those reps, and it appears like that's generally a faster technique, what we saw there is Ohlsen had a little bit of trouble resetting and bring his feet together after each of those power cleans. His technique was faster, but it was sloppy, and that almost cost him, Bo.
Yeah, and you saw that slide, slow-mo slide. I believe Saxon Panchik forgot what leg his timing chip was on, because he slid with the right leg forward going to instinct, forgetting that the timing chip was actually on his left leg. I think that's what cost him for sure the 0.03 of a second, a difference of 10 points. That might really help Noah Ohlsen as Matt Fraser is trying to catch up to him here, and that race on the podium is going to really come down to all those little bits of hundredths of seconds.
All right, Mundwiler will just take a nominal attempt really at 370. He's just not feeling it today. That tiebreak giving these athletes a little bit more time to maybe cool down. CrossFit athletes don't like to take too much rest between heavy attempts if you've ever seen them train in the gym, and that can put them a little off their game, get a little out of their own head and lose focus, and might make it actually more difficult to lift that heavy weight. All right, here we see Scott Panchik approaching the barbell. 370 pounds. Can he stand up? Wow, what an attempt by Scott Panchik, showing why he belongs in the top 10 here in Madison, Wisconsin. Don't call it a comeback, folks. He's been here for years. All right, Bo, do you think Bjorgvin, Karl, Gudmundsson has this lift in him?
I think he needed the crowd a little bit on that last lift. If I had to bet, I would say he might just miss this. I hate to count a guy like him out. This is, again, way above what we've seen him lift in competition. 365, a bit of a challenge, but he made it happen. He had a sticking point. If he can tighten up his technique, he should have it.
Oh, and that'll be a no lift for Gudmundsson. I think he's just going to bow to the crowd and count that one out. He wants to be prepped and ready and uninjured heading into the final day of competition, just a little bit above his ability today in this 8th event of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. But here's a man who you will see make every ounce of effort. Look at the determination on Matt Fraser's face as he approaches this 370-pound barbell. He's cheering up the crowd. He is left in this competition. This is his chance to make up some points and retake that white leader jersey. He wants it more than anyone. Small reset at the bottom, but there you go. Matt Fraser reminding the crowd why he is the 3-time defending Reebok CrossFit Games champion, one of the fittest individuals in history, making work of that 370-pound barbell. And just like that, we are down to our final 2 athletes, Scott Panchik, Matt Fraser, CrossFit Games veterans, 2 of the fittest competitors we've seen over the past decade. Exactly where we want to see them as we watch this replay. A head-to-head clean ladder. Who is stronger? One of the most objective, rawest tests of strength, speed, experience, mobility, and timing, the clean. And we're going to see 2 of the best who have ever done it throw down here in Madison. And I think that I echo a lot of opinions out there when I say this is perhaps one of the most exciting moments we have seen in recent memory at the Reebok CrossFit Games. Bo, who do you think comes out on top here?
Really tough to tell based on how they each handled that. Oh, what's happening? Oh, we have the tiebreaker.
We do have
here.
a tiebreaker, yes.
Sorry, you're asking me about the tiebreaker or the finale?
I was asking about the finale, but the tiebreaker is going to be almost just as exciting, as we have two athletes, Mundwiler and Gudmundsson, going head-to-head for these heavy cleans. Whoever crosses the finish line first, whoever gets their timing chip, which is on their ankle across the finish line first, I should say, will be awarded those additional 10 points out of this tiebreak round. Here we go. Gudmundsson, Mundwiler, head-to-head, 5 cleans, 4 timed. The crowd nearly silent here in Madison as these athletes look poised to approach that barbell.
Stand by. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's an international.
There we see Gudmundsson off to the squat clean from the get-go. Mundwiler employing that power clean now. We saw the difference in strategies in the previous tiebreaker we had, although it ended up coming down to the hundredths of the seconds between the two competitors. Let's see who comes out on top here. And Mundwiler will win this tiebreak by employing that slightly faster power clean. Now, we saw him maintaining his technique a bit more than Noah Ohlsen did, using the same power clean technique to try and shave seconds off of the time. I really like what Mundwiler did there. He knew it was a way that he could power clean comfortably while maintaining technique, and he wasn't going to lose time on having to reposition that barbell on his chest or bring his feet together. So very smart gamesmanship from Mundwiler there. And now we see Fraser and Panchik fighting over that chalk. Let's go to replay real quick and see Fraser's final attempt at 370. Bo, what are you seeing here from Fraser?
He first of all, you gotta take a look at what he did going up to the platform. Again, asking for the crowd. We heard him in the last event 7 saying, "I'm going to do whatever it takes to win." I'm confident he's going to step up to this 375, again, jumping 5 pounds here with pure determination. He knows he's in that deficit. He's not used to being in that deficit of points on the leaderboard. Obviously, you can only do what you can against the barbell, so we'll see what Scott Panchik, first up here, will be able to accomplish.
All right, this is it. 2 competitors left. 2 of the strongest competitors left in the field. The 2 strongest competitors left in the field as Scott Panchik makes this 375-pound clean. A fantastic lift from Scott Panchik. Grit, leg strength, technique, timing, every ounce of his sporting ability and weightlifting ability required to come away with a successful lift there. But there's something about being followed by this man, back to back to back, Reebok CrossFit Games champion Matt Fraser, who comes from a significant weightlifting background. He has been completing these lifts under fatigue since he was just a little boy. Experience, can it win out? As Matt Fraser makes 375 pounds look easier than 375 pounds. Ladies look easier than 370 pounds. Pardon me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a battle. And look at these 2 competitors cheering each other on. Bo, what are you seeing here in Fraser's technique on that 375-pound good lift?
Very smooth bar path, as we always expect. Again, when you have these champions, these guys that are on top of their games, just like Tia Toomey on the female side, the technique will always, 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 in the long run, build on that engine that they have. So it's not just the capacity and pure strength, but something that, again, Matt is super clean with his technique. Again, that bar crashed on him a little more than we'd expect, but those tenths of centimeters and inches and millimeters are going to add up, but he was able to overcome that in that lift. I do want to point out Scott Panchik going into this event in 4th place behind BK Gudmundsson out of Iceland by a total of 23 points. So he's definitely fighting to get on that podium into that 3rd place spot. I'm not sure if we'll see him take that 100 points or the 90 points here, as Gudmundsson got 70 points. So a bit of a movement on that leaderboard. Again, this structure is very exciting.
And folks, if you are looking for updated standings after this event, after updated scoring for men, women, and team, make sure to visit BarBend.com, where shortly after this final lift here, wherever that may be and whatever weight that may be at, we will have updated standings for you available. Again, BarBend.com. Panchik, Fraser, head-to-head. Over a decade of Reebok CrossFit Games experience between them. Who will be the last man standing, or the last man cleaning, I should say. You can't write this up to be any more dramatic. This is it. This is why we love this sport. This is what we wait for. These moments where legends are made. One platform in the middle of the Alliant Energy Center Coliseum. Scott Panchik approaching that 380-pound barbell. The crowd is on its feet. I'm on the edge of my seat. Let's go. 380 pounds for Scott Panchik out of Menor, Ohio, appearing at the CrossFit Games since 2012. Can he do this? And unfortunately, I think that's going to be a no lift for Panchik, even after deadlifting that weight up. It's going to be a big ask for him to make another concerted attempt there, which leaves the door open for Matt Fraser to win this event outright. Assuming Panchik is not able to make this next attempt, and he won't, this is it. Fraser has everyone else right where he wants them. He controls his own destiny. A successful attempt at 380 pounds will mean that Matt Fraser walks away with the event win. Oh man, is this exciting. Fraser getting pumped up for the crowd, approaching that 380-pound barbell. For everything, Matt Fraser wins the clean ladder here at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games, closing the gap further while he chases current leader Noah Ohlsen, while he works to retake the white jersey he is so used to wearing, that we are so used to seeing him wear. Coming from behind, that's something we haven't seen Matt Fraser have to do since the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Games, where he came in second to eventual champion Ben Smith. This is a Matt Fraser determined. This is a Matt Fraser maybe more determined than we've seen in nearly 4 years. It is a sight to behold. We're going to go down to the field in just a few seconds, where Nikki Brazier is going to interview your Event 8 winner. What a battle!